In this video, I'd like to talk about logic tables, and I'd like to demonstrate how you can use these types of tables to help manage complex logic within your programs. Here's an example of some business rules. Let's pretend that we're a bank and we have some rules that determine whether or not we're going to approve a loan. So for a small loan, you need to have a minimum credit rating of 300. For a medium-sized loan, you need a minimum rating of 500. And for a large loan, you need a minimum rating of 800. Now, the logical way, or the obvious way to implement this logic is by using an if statement. And we can just put all of these conditions into a single if statement and then decide whether or not we want to approve the loan. If you want to keep the rules a little more separated, you can use the elif variation where each rule appears on its own line. But in either case, as the rules become more complicated and as we add more conditions to the rules, we can end up with more complicated decision trees that are harder to understand. Another way of expressing this logic is by using a logic table. And these tables have several benefits. They're compact. You can put a lot of information into a table. They're easy to modify. And they're easy to read because they're just rows and columns of logical conditions. Python has two built-in functions that can help us write these types of tables. We have the all function and we have the any function. The all function takes a list of conditions and returns true if all of the conditions in the list are true. So in other words, it performs a logical AND on all of the items in the list. The any function also takes a list of conditions and it returns true if at least one condition is true. So it performs a logical OR on the items in the list. Here's an example of a logic table using those two functions, the any function and the all function, and it's the same logic that we had in that earlier if statement. And our table says that we're going to approve the loan if you're asking for a small loan and your rating is at least 300, or if you're asking for a medium loan and your rating is at least 500, or if you're asking for a large loan and your rating is at least 800. Now, sometimes we have situations where certain conditions don't apply in certain rules, and we can code that quite easily using logic tables. So here's an example of a don't care type of rule. Let's say that we've decided that if your credit rating is over 1,000, that we will approve a loan in any amount because your credit is so good that we really don't care what the amount of the loan is. So here's how we can express that in the logic table. Anytime you set a condition equal to a constant true value, that basically means we're going to ignore that condition in that particular rule. So here we've added a fourth rule to the table that says if your rating is over 1,000, we don't care how much you're asking for. We'll just approve it no matter what it is. So this is another tool that you can use when you're writing your programs. Different types of problems require different approaches to solve them. If you're manipulating text, if you're searching text, you might want to use regular expressions to do that. If your program is responding to events coming in from the outside world, you might want to use a state machine to model that behavior. If your program needs to do several things at once, you might use threads to implement that parallel processing. And now, if you've got complicated decision logic, you might want to use a logic table to implement that logic. That's it. I hope you enjoyed the video.